Libra, in the year 2026, you are realizing that no is a complete sentence in and of itself. And that when you stand firm in your no's, you open up pathways towards your heart-centered, full-body yeses. And I see both foretold in this year's astrology. We see the no's with Saturn and Neptune aligning in the sign Aries, which is in actual houses or solar houses, your 7th house, which has to do with relationships, partnerships, one-to-one contacts. A lot of you are entering your strict era in 2026 if you have not already entered. We did get a foreshadow of this energy midway through 2025. And so maybe you tested the waters around your strict era, but in 2026, you're like, not around here, partner. That sort of funny business is not going to fly over here. You're being a little bit more strict as it relates to how people treat you, the context of which you will relate to others, and what it is that you will and will not allow within your space. And you are really having to enact boundaries and perhaps even have uncomfortable conversations with people. Be radically honest with the people in your life. Be radically honest with yourself in order to work on your partnerships. You're being strict with yourself in terms of holding yourself to a high standard of the sort of relationship that you want to have within your world. A lot of you could be ascending to a higher level of commitment this year with Saturn moving into your 7th house. You are getting strict around what it is that you really want within partnership connection. And you are getting strict with enforcing that and getting very clear on your no's. No, this does not meet my standards. No, this is not for me. No, this sort of behavior that you're giving me does not cut it. No. And the no's within your world, as indicated by Saturn in your 7th house, are opening up the space for you to move towards your yeses. A lot of Libras are really expanding in the public eye. You're getting positive press. You're getting new positions. You're advancing in an existing position. You're getting some sort of promotion. There is an energy of gain and growth as it relates to how it is that you meet the public. And then Jupiter will move into Leo, which is your 11th house of hopes and dreams. So getting the hopes and the dreams that your heart has always longed for and yearned for. And you will not get to those full body chills, those heart on fire, those soul on fire, those immediate instinctive yeses, unless you get very clear on your no. And sometimes maybe is a no. You know, if you feel like you've been halfway in and halfway out of something around, it's not exactly what I want, but it's better than nothing, or this relationship isn't really treating me with respect, but I don't want to be alone. How are we going to move towards these passionate, fiery yeses that the universe is orchestrating for us if we're still in the territory of lukewarm maybes? You have to have space in order to call in new into your life. And you have to decide what does not cut it for you in order to move towards timelines and call in friendships and move towards hopes and dreams that are so magical, that are so beautiful that you would not have even known to ask for them. You don't get to that unless you decide this is not for me. Being disrespected is not for me. Having no future with the person that I'm with is not for me. Being treated like crap by my business partner is not for me. And it's also recognizing that for you to get to your dreams, to your visions within this reality, you do have to get comfortable with being the bad guy in some people's story. You know, I'm talking to my Libras, so you all tend to be very, very charming, very charismatic, very likable, and that's always going to be part of you. But you need to firstly be liked by yourself. You need to be validated by yourself. You need to approve of yourself. And if you've been in certain grooves of relating to other individuals where you abandon yourself, where you sacrifice yourself and you recognize I'm bending over backwards and sacrificing myself for a lukewarm, I'm allowing myself to be treated like A, B, and C, seeking to find some sort of acceptance, validation, and approval that this person is never going to give me, no more. You know, in order to move towards our future visions, we have to see ourselves as worthy of them. And to move towards what it is that you are worthy of, you have to decide, I'm worth more than this. No leads to my yes. So Libra, we will dive into everything that you need to know around what it is you are saying yes to and what it is that you are saying no to, and how it is that you can co-create with astrology, how it is that you can align with the stars within this upcoming year. I want to let you know that this video will be the most relevant and applicable if you are a Libra rising, a Libra ascendant, or if you are a Libra sun. The reason for this is that I tell the story of the stars utilizing your houses, and your rising sign in whole sign house system will set your houses. That'll be your actual houses. That's why rising sign will always be your most relevant horoscope to listen to, and that's my encouragement. Secondarily, I also encourage listening to your sun sign. The reason for this is I utilize a technique called solar houses, which is when we take the sun, we pull it into the first house, and we set up the houses as such. If you only have time for one, definitely listen to your rising, but the more that I work with solar houses within my life, the more that I see both are really alive within my universe. So that would be my recommendation. As I highlighted, when it comes to horoscopes for ease and simplicity, I tell the story utilizing whole sign house system. So if you use Placidus, if you use equal signs, it may benefit you to listen to the surrounding signs, as some of these transits may be activating different houses than the one that I state. That is completely optional, but something I wanted to highlight. And I want to welcome you to my series, 12 Days of Cosmos, where I'm taking you through all of the signs in the zodiac and what 2026's astrology has in store for them. And true to my style, the opportunities to co-create within the astrology. If you're familiar with my cosmic corner of the internet, with me as an astrologer, hi, I'm Haley Comet, by the way, if I didn't mention that. I'm big on leveraging astrology as a tool, really bobbing and weaving with where these planets are stirring our souls and activating our lives, and seeking how it is that we can meet these energies halfway. So if that feels to be in alignment with you, I would be so deeply thankful for a subscription, for a comment, sending this video to a fellow Libra within your world. Every little bit helps, and I'm just so appreciative that you are here. If you want to dive into this astrology even deeper and really take a look at it in terms of month by month, what each month is good for, what challenges may emerge as you navigate each month of the year, affirmations that you can repeat in order to navigate some of these cosmic influences. I have a new offering called Magic 2026, where I create you a 40-page PDF that highlights the major transits every month, the planetary motions, the houses that it's activating within your chart, and how it is that you can grab hold of the opportune energies within that month. It is my belief that working with the astrology is just an intelligent way to bucket our energy. Why would I force March to be my business launch when it would be so much more auspicious and aligned come June? Or why would I put all of this energy towards making friends when Jupiter entering my 11th house in the latter portion of the year will make that much more opportune? We take every single month and the unique magic that is within it for you, Libra. So you can check that out below. I also want to highlight I'm having Capricorn new moon classes. If you want to take a look at your unique chart, your unique transits, we essentially give personal readings, and then we all work together in order to amplify one another's visions and plant seeds for a very prosperous, very auspicious, very magic 2026. So the information for those will be below in the description. But Libra, without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into Libra 2026 forecasts. So Libra, in telling the story of your year, it's important to know that energies are not neatly sequestered to years. Like some of these particular transits that we're navigating, we are pulling in from last year. I briefly mentioned that Saturn and Neptune were in your 7th house last year. So it could have gotten a foreshadow to being a little bit more stricter. And then this year with them settling in for good, it's like really enforcing that, enforcing that strict energy. We got a hint of Uranus and Gemini last year. We're wrapping up certain transits, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces this year. So it's not so neat and organized in terms of new year with brand new transits. So it helps to tell your horoscope by sharing what has currently been up for the scales, for the Libras, where it is that you could be pulling in some of these themes into this year. And I want to begin by sharing about a transit that didn't start in 2025, didn't even start in 2024. I'm talking about a major cycle that you have been in, Libra. Chiron, the wounded healer, has been in Aries, thus your 7th house in actual houses or solar houses, since 2018. And this year is the first year since 2018 that Chiron will not be in your 7th house in an angular house, which is relief, Libra. Let's talk about what this journey has had in store for you. Chiron is a comet that has to do with pain and wounding. And so a lot of you could have felt, in big ways or small ways, very let down by the people in your life. Very much in an energy around, I do all of this for you and this is how you treat me. There could have been an exposed nerve that has been alive within an existing partnership where there's just someone within your world who pushes your buttons, who makes you feel inferior, who knows how to trigger you, even if they do not intend to. That's what's so nefarious about Chiron energy, is that it's not just brand new events. It's not just meeting someone and they do something that's disrespectful and we're hurt about that. It's the energy around a sustained wound that's connected to a bigger story and potentially even connected to a way of viewing yourself, where it's like somebody else mirroring to you your pain points and your wounds and your insecurities, which likely had roots that extended far before them, but there's something about them that just brings it all out to the surface. And that's what makes it so painful, because you could have found in big ways and small ways in relating with other people, it's like there could have been certain connections within your life where it's like you have grown, you've evolved, but something about this person just makes you feel like you felt when you were 6 years old and you felt neglected by your parents, like that same feeling of neglect showing up. And you feeling triggered in that sort of way and trying to earn this person's validation around, if I can only get what I desire from this person, then the younger version of me, the 6-year-old self, won't be as hurt. Like if I can only get what I want, if I can resolve this unsatisfying loop that I'm in, if I can only find some sort of relief to the pain, I will not only feel better in present day, I'll also be healing that younger version of myself. It's important to acknowledge when younger us steps in the chat. You know, when younger us is tugging on our pant leg and saying, I feel uncomfortable, I want to go home. And sometimes we don't recognize that that is the data that is coming forward. We think of it around, this person makes me feel those same levels of neglect and abandon and unhappiness. And rather than comforting the inner me, this 6-year-old version of self or middle school version of self or what have you, I'm going to try to get what I want through this person. And when it comes to these sort of dynamics, even if we do find some sort of resolution, even if we do find some sort of closure, even if we do find some sort of validation, it's temporary because we're not really getting what we're after, which is our caretaker's love, our father's love, our mother's love, approval altogether. And it's very important when you acknowledge that someone triggers something that existed far before them, because it's bigger than them. So this is going to differ for all of you, but some of you could have found in terms of your dating life or relationships, there's been certain individuals who could have really triggered you, honestly. And it could have been very fiery, passionate relationships and connections. And sometimes we misread the signals, right? We misread the signals of our fight and flight going off as butterflies, right? We misread the signals around the chaos being exciting, or we misread the up and down, the intermittent reinforcement. We receive the signal for that as love, even if it's reinforcing the pain points. And furthermore, the stories around how we felt when we were 6 years old and the story that it made around us. Because Chiron has been in Aries since 2018, and Aries is the sign of self. And so the ways in which how other people treated you, discarded you, betrayed you, Chiron can be a very painful transit. We'll get into it. But feeling like if I was better, then they wouldn't have treated me like that. If I was prettier, if I was more valuable, if I wasn't so loud, if I was more desirable, if I was better at this, then I would finally get that reward that I'm after. And if someone does betray me, if someone does abandon me, if someone does discard me, there's something wrong with me. And it helps to go back to that version of you, that 6-year-old version of you, that 11-year-old version of you, whatever age feels like it's kind of entering the chat as it relates to certain dynamics, and go to that person and say, there's nothing wrong with you. You know, sometimes we internalize other people's treatment of us as something personally that we did. And it could be related to the hell that they were navigating and the pain that they inflicted on us. And it's not a you thing. And making it a you thing around I'm not good enough is dangerous because it keeps you in this loop around trying to be better and losing yourself in this effort to finally feel enough. And that's something that, regardless of who you are interacting with, no one can give that to you. No one can give you what you really want, because what you really want is healing. And sometimes we get very obsessed with going back to the last infliction. So some of you could have had a very painful breakup, a painful divorce of some sort. And if you've been in this energy around, I want to go back to it, even if they mistreated me, even if it was painful, I want to go back to it, because that's the most recent infliction. So we think, oh, that's where healing is. If I only do it right with this person, then I'll finally feel like I'm enough. I'll finally feel like I was validated by my parents. I'll finally feel like I'm making my father proud. Whatever it may be, it's going to differ for each and every one of you. But it's important to know that nobody can give you what it is that you want besides yourself. Aries is the sign of self. And this year, with Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron all spending a lot of the year in Aries, there is an ask to be very accountable and to be really self-sufficient. There's an ask to be very self-honoring and recognizing that it's not that the right person will finally make everything click into place, where I finally love myself and validate myself and choose myself. Like, no one can really do that for me. And it's recognizing where it is that you have defaulted or avoided doing that particular work, busying yourself within dating or within relationships, or staying in something that you know is causing harm, like actively causing harm, seeking to finally get that response, that validation. And oftentimes you get it and you realize this is unsatisfactory. This is unsatisfying. I thought if I had the relationship, then I wouldn't still have these insecurities. Like, this was meant to fix it. Only you can fix you. Only you can put you back together again. And so for some, there may be roots within a wound, a pain point, an insecurity that existed far beyond the individuals that you're interacting with, but there's something about them that just triggers it, that brings it to the surface. There could have been painful situations with relationships since 2018, and so deeply painful because it's not just what is happening here, it's also built upon the pain that has come prior, as well as how this person could have shaped how you saw yourself, for better and for worse. I feel like some of you, and I'm so sorry if this is the case, and I mean that genuinely, I feel like some of you could have navigated a relationship, or may even be in a relationship of someone who tears you down, who makes you feel less than, so much so that you started to believe it. And like, the longer that you stay, the more ashamed that you feel that you are still in it, and the less and less that you recognize yourself. There could have been something very painful around your interactions with others. For some of you, there just could have been certain painful situations within your marriage, within your partnership. Sometimes we have sunken cost fallacy around, well, I've been in this relationship for this long, like I can't walk away now, and what will people say? And they're telling me that I'm never going to find anyone who will love me, and I'm so this and I'm so that. And the more we stay in it and we accept the mistreatment of us, or endure, I should say, the mistreatment of us, the more we can echo what we are told, or perpetuate the rhetoric around I am so this and no one's ever going to love me again, and just continuing to reinforce it, none of which is the case. I'm so sorry if anyone has ever told you anything in that vein. It's never appropriate. And you know, Saturn energy can make it very clear around time and how time is going by. And some of you could have an energy around, well, Haley Comet, it's been 20 years. And Saturn energy is around, well, do you want 20 more years? You know, it's been on off for 8 years. Do you want on off for 8 more years? Like, Saturn energy is around time. And a lot of times getting out of relationships, which I'm not saying is going to happen for everyone this year. Okay, we'll get into other manifestations of this. Do not fear. But a lot of times we stay in something because we are scared of the initial pain, and it does suck. It does hurt. But the difference is that it gets better versus if you stay in an unsatisfying or even downright cruel situation, it's like you're kind of stuck. You can't really fully have the healing experience because you're still in the pain loop. You're still having your pain body activated. Now, this could show up in healthy relationships. There's absolutely a scale. Like Chiron energy could just essentially be indicating that you or your partner has been doing a lot of healing work. And there could have been certain triggers that come to the surface around you've been traveling more, you've been saying yes to life more, and that triggers your partner because they're scared you're going to outgrow them. Or maybe your partner has been navigating some sort of grief within their life and they're less available for you. Like you don't feel like they're really there to support you. There just could be an energy where it's not that you're being cruel to one another, but there's just an energy around your pain points being activated, which some of that could even stem before this particular person around your partner. Maybe their parent always traveled for work. So when you travel for work, it's like that younger version of them steps forward. Or when you feel like your partner's being cold to you, you know it's not about you, but you can't help but to feel anxious around what can I do to make this person happy? Do they not love me? Sometimes it's just helpful to recognize this is beyond this person. And I need to really take accountability and ownership for my role in this and my work within healing, really showing up for my healing and encouraging my partner to do theirs for us to grow together, for us to do the work. I mean, Saturn moving into your 7th house is a really beneficial time to get couples counseling. It's not necessarily easy transit, but it can be really helpful around seeing yourself clearly, around your own relationship patterns and how it is that it can contribute to sometimes spikiness within the connection, and being very honest with yourself, with your partner. What do you need? What do you desire? What is here for you? Because I'm not saying the answer for every Libra this year is to break up. Like definitely if you've been in a situation that is actively creating harm, definitely do whatever you can to get out of that situation. But for some of you, it's like, it could just be around, okay, let's do the work. Let's talk about this stuff. Let's evolve past this pattern of bickering. Like, let's grow together. Let's heal together, really. And as I highlighted, this is the first year since 2018 that you will not have Chiron in this sector of relationships and partnerships. And Chiron will briefly leave your angular house, 7th house, which angular houses tend to be a lot more emphasized. So I do see some relief midway this year. To be specific, from June to September, Chiron will enter Taurus, leaving Aries. And so there could be an energy where things that used to sear and burn, it's not as painful anymore. Or we find that we are not drawn to individuals who reinforce familiar pain loops. Or we find that the therapy, the counseling, the work that we've been doing within our marriage, it's paying off. Like there could be an energy where things that used to sear and burn, it lightens and it lifts. And it's so magical when that happens. And it's important to know healing does happen. And sometimes it just happens randomly, suddenly, where something could hurt so badly. You're processing a breakup, you're processing how people have treated you, and it doesn't take away from the severity of what you've navigated. But sometimes you go to look at the wound and you see that it's faded to a bruise where, yes, of course, healing's not linear and Chiron does make its way back into your 7th house by the end of the year, but it helps to recognize what before was unspeakable amount of pain, it has lifted. And also recognizing how it is that you define you. You are not defined by other people's treatment of you. That's really important to continue to bake into your system, because Chiron energy can have a nasty way of making us feel like it was our fault that our parents were getting a divorce at 6 years old, or it's our fault that this person didn't love us or didn't choose us, when a lot of people are just bumbling through this life just unhealed and absorbed with their own drama, not recognizing the pain that they inflict on other people. Like, not everything is a us thing. Saturn in Aries is asking you to take accountability for your part in certain situations and relationships, or how it is that you interact with others, but also know in terms of anyone who has abused you, caused harm to you, that is not a you thing. That is a them thing. And with Chiron energy, it's like, well, I did this, and if I wasn't so this. And I'm also seeing saying, like, some of you could be really ensnared with shame or guilt around, I should have left 10 years ago, or I should have fought back harder. I should have done this. I should have done this. I should have done this. And that reinforces these painful loops and can make us feel less than. It really is something that we do to try to find some sense of power over a situation, especially if we felt powerless. We can replay it around, what could I have done differently, to try to feel like we could have changed our fate in some sort of way. And so it's important to know what has happened, and it's not your fault what happened, but how it is that you proceed forward is your responsibility. And it's a responsibility that you're taking on with Saturn in your 7th house. And so I want to highlight that this Chiron energy is going to be the most alive and felt for you. If you notice within your chart, you have Libra placements between 22 degrees to 29 degrees. That means you will experience a Chiron opposition at some point this year. And so there can be certain triggers, but understanding that these triggers are catalysts to grow. And knowing sometimes that we are not seeing clearly, and sometimes we don't see clearly. You know, we can project on people, we can idealize people, we can put people on pedestals. And that feels relevant to mention because Neptune is transiting your 7th house. So both Saturn and Neptune enter into your 7th house for a long while at the beginning of the year. So it's closing out the journey in your 6th house, which could have had a lot to do around really refining your day-to-day schedule, getting your health in order, really refining your work processes, getting to the bottom or getting clear on any sort of mysterious ailments that you've been navigating, or really putting a lot of work to want to feel your best. Now the focus shifts to relationships, one-on-one, general public, contracts, partnerships. And with the Neptune haze here, Neptune is the planet that rules mirrors. And that feels relevant to mention because a lot of times we are mirrors for other people. And we, as the mirror, can sometimes take it very personally, how people treat us. You know, I've had some bad hair days and sometimes bad makeup days and bad clothes. You know, we all have those days, right? And sometimes on those days, I go up to the mirror and I'm like, ugh, you know, like, ugh. And it's not that my mirror is bad. It's just like I hated what I looked like within it and I grimaced at it. And sometimes we are mirrors for people where naturally we reflect. And even thinking that you're a Libra, you know, Libra is the scales. It just balances what is there, right? It tends to be a very objective sign. And sometimes people can't take that, how it is that you weigh things out or what it is that you reflect to them. And they'll make you the problem because you made them look at that side of themselves. So now you're the villain, you're the issue. And it's easier to make you the problem rather than recognize where they are the problem. And that's why with Saturn energy, you know, we can't say rules for thee and not for me. Like Saturn energy is asking you to be accountable for your role in any sort of issues within your relationships around, you know, I let this issue fester. I wasn't honest when I should have been, or I should have been more forthright around what I needed from you. Again, it's not getting stuck in guilt and shame around why did I do this or why didn't I do this? It's just recognizing, you know, this is something that I'm going to do moving forward. I'm taking responsibility for my part of things. But with that, I also require that from you as well. Like it takes two to tango. It takes two people to do the work. And sometimes when people don't want to do the work, they'll just make you the issue or run from it or escape from the issue at hand. And the other manifestation of Neptune being in your 7th house is being very mindful where you idealize individuals or build people up to be something that they are not, and really contemplating what are you really after? Because especially with this energy in Aries, you know, sometimes we idealize someone or we want someone or we pine after someone because of what we feel like that means about us. If they choose me, that means I'm choosable. That means I'm worthy. That means I'm good enough. Or if I can get this really successful person to love me, I will feel successful. Or if I can be with the person that my parents would approve of, then they would love me more. Sometimes we project all of these things onto people or even outsource certain parts of ourselves to other people. You know, we could have a crush or be obsessed with someone who travels the world, right? And what we want is to travel and adventure, but that's scary to put ourselves out there in that way. So it's much easier to idealize this free-spirited traveling individual rather than do the work around buying the tickets and taking the risk. Sometimes we outsource things to other people, and it's easier that way because then we can pine over this person, and even shadow side of Neptune, like think my life is going to start when this person is with me and we're going to travel the world. And Aries energy wants you to get very urgent around your desires and what you want out of life and what you want out of partnership. Like I said earlier, in terms of staying in a relationship, like if you've waited for someone for 2 years, do you want to wait 2 more years? Like with Aries energy, it's like my life is going by and I'm waiting on this person to change. I'm waiting for this person to come back. I'm waiting for this person to finally choose me. It's time to get urgent about what it is that I desire. And in doing that, figure out, what am I really after? What does this person represent to me? Because with Neptune energy, you could be building people up to be something more than what they are. And it's important to get very clear on that. And Neptune energy as a transit is not very aligned with clarity. Neptune energy and this energy of idealization and romanticizing is going to be the most impactful if you have Libra placements between 0 to 4. And this could absolutely show up around really spiritual union, spiritual lessons that you learn from other individuals. But again, people mirroring things to you and you doing the work, especially with Neptune and Saturn aligning in February of 2026. Knowing that sometimes people show up within our life as a catalyst for us to travel more, to create more. And it's knowing that sometimes people awaken certain qualities within us and they don't have ownership of that. You know, if you have some sort of dalliance or you've had a dalliance recently and it didn't work out and there's an energy around, gosh, I loved how free I felt in that relationship. I loved how beautiful I felt in that relationship, whatever it may be. It's knowing that that person awakens something that was always within you. And sometimes there's just certain people who are meant to be catalysts. You know, Neptune in your 7th house, a lot of you could be really inspired. You could have a muse within your world. You could be a muse to someone else. Like Neptune energy can be very romantic and very idealized, but Neptune energy is hard to sustain. You know, it's hard to sustain the dream, the fairy tale. And Saturn energy in this territory as well is really wanting you to get clear around what you want within relationship, who it is that you are within relationships, and being honest and admitting your faults. As I highlighted, this transit could be really helpful for seeking out any sort of counseling or therapy if that is in alignment with you, and or just being open to any sort of practitioner and being very honest with people is really important this year with the Aries energy. And also just getting really clear around, what do I want for my future? Like, and if you've been waiting with this Aries energy, it's like being impatient around what you desire and what you're worthy of, as well as doing the work around, what am I really fearful of? You know, sometimes we are scared of being alone, so we stay in lukewarm situations or a relationship that does not feel like that full body wholehearted yes. And to be so clear, okay, it's not that we could ever be in a relationship that's constant chemistry and passion 24/7 all of the time. I mean, if you're in one, that is amazing. And I'm so happy for you. But most relationships, you know, we go through seasons of them. And so I'm not saying that every Libra is going through a breakup or anything like that. And I'm not implying that if you ever have one moment where things get a little ordinary or mundane, that this is not your person. But if there is an energy around, it's not about that I want to stay, it's that I'm scared to leave. Like Saturn energy is getting very clear on why you're staying or why you're leaving, or what you want and what you don't want. Like Saturn energy is being very strict with that. And there could be an energy around having some pressure applied to your relationship, applied to your union. Saturn is around commitment. So some of you could be an energy around, I'm moving into the next season of my life and I have to be very accountable for who I want to be as a husband, as a wife, as a partner, you know, with the energy of Aries. Like, how is it that I want to show up? It's not just what I get, it's what I give. And really being clear on that is also a nudge here. Your partner could be going through something stressful, or again, there just could be stressful situations on the connection altogether. And being very transparent and honest is going to be important at this time. I will be forthright that sometimes with Neptune in the 7th house, sometimes we are crushing on people outside of our relationship. Sometimes we're even in affairs outside of our relationship. It could be a planet that is linked with deception. And I don't want that to inspire any sort of fear. I'm just saying with the energy of Aries, it's being very honest. You know, if you're at a space where you are thinking about stepping out, it's like really contemplating, what am I not getting from this relationship? And is this relationship what I want? Like some of you might have to do the hard, scary thing, which is being alone for some time. And so this Saturn and Aries transit is going to be the most alive and most deeply felt if you have Libra placements positioned between 0 to 14 degrees. There can be energies around accountability, doing the work, time, pressure, restrictions, stress, and also the importance of how it is that we navigate these particular situations. You know, every sort of partnership or relationship will go through trials and tribulations. It's how it is that we show up amidst them and do the work within them. And also with Saturn and Neptune coinciding in the 7th house, I want to just highlight this. This may relate for some of you. Let it go if it's not for you. But Neptune as a planet is around escapism and avoidance. So you could be in a relationship with someone or pining after someone who is avoidant or is escapist or is lost in their own world. Neptune can be very delusional as an energy. It also can be very disconnected from reality. In one way that we can disconnect from reality is being lost in a vice, lost in an addiction. And I'm not putting this out there that all of you are going to experience this, but some of you may have to have some tough acknowledgments around boundaries that are necessary if you are in a relationship or you have someone within your life that is using, and having to draw a line in the sand around, I will not enable you. And if this does not change, I will need to do what I have to in order to move forward within my life to get what it is that I desire. And that can feel hard to do, especially if you love someone so much. And even if they're not dealing with a vice, you know, Neptune energy, I see the soul of who you are. I see what we could be. Like I see it all. But with Saturn also there, you have to go off of what they show you right now. And can you deal with this for the rest of your life? And I'm not saying you have to cut everybody off, but with Saturn, you do need to enforce your boundaries. There could be an energy around, no, I cannot see you after this time of day, or no, I cannot lend you money. Something like this, it might be necessary for you at this time to really enforce strict guidelines and not taking responsibility of it. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells trying to keep someone sober, it's knowing only they can make that decision, only they can sustain that decision. So do your part, like absolutely seek out Al-Anon or the resources in order to help you cope and navigate what it is that you're moving through if this relates to you. But know that it's not your responsibility to take on to fix this person or save this person. Only they can do that for themselves, and only you can do that for you. Only you can save yourself. And sometimes we busy ourselves or distract ourselves in trying to fix other people's problems or keep somebody else sober or hold it all together. And this energy in Aries may be around disconnecting a bit, whether that's boundaries, whether that's for some cutting this individual off, adding some distance there in order for you to focus on what it is that you can control, which is your own behavior, which is how it is that you show up. And so this is setting the scene because this is a transit that has already been foreshadowed. I want you to think of 2025 and particularly midway through 2025 as both of these transits began. Basically, Saturn, Neptune started 2025 in Pisces, dabbled into Aries, and then returned back. And we start the year with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and they settle in for the long haul. I do mean the long haul, although Neptune is a bit longer. And it's just important to be very clear, be very honest, be very direct, and also recognize that nobody in this world can give you what it is that you can only give to yourself. Act 2, the plot twist. What within the year of 2026 is going to surprise you? So I firstly want to highlight to my Libras that you may be surprised by your desire to say yes to things, to jump into things that are unusual. A lot of you could be traveling this year. A lot of you could be saying yes to more community gatherings. You could be making new friends. You could be in this energy around saying yes to things because you're getting clear on your no, and you're setting boundaries around people who are draining your energy, depleting your energy, taking advantage of your kindness, so on and so forth. It's like opening up space for your yeses, to be in environments that stimulate you, that excite you, that electrify you, to be around people who do the same. I want to highlight the transits that I'm deriving this from. Uranus will enter Gemini this year, where it settles in until 2033. But the journey is officially underway from April of 2026 onward. And this is a fellow air sign. And so this makes a harmonious flow of energy if you have any Libra placements positioned between 0 to 5. And this is the winds of change, yes, with Uranus energy, but it's more harmonious. It's more like stepping into different sides of ourselves. Saying yes to travel opportunities, I see for some, or going into some sort of program, or starting to go to church or something like this. There could be an energy around wanting to say yes to life and experience things, especially if there was someone within your life or a recent relationship who held you back from a lot. Like some of you, if you are going through a breakup, you might find like, I'm traveling more, I'm experiencing life more. I didn't realize how much that person was draining from me of my own life force energy. Like I didn't realize that this was a person that was holding me back, even if they weren't like literally like, you can't travel, you need to stay here. Sometimes we feel, especially when the wrong situation for us, like we need to hold back or be less of ourselves or not do the things that are a full body yes, because, well, I feel bad, or what if they need this, or what are they going to say? And there might be an energy where you feel like a little bit of a weight lifted, like Saturn energy definitely can be heavy, but feeling a weight lifted around, now I can experience life. Now I can get out into the world. Now I can find myself or connect to myself or even try new things. Especially if you're a Libra placement early degrees, a lot of you could be creating really unusual art, or you could be doing your hair differently, dressing differently, like wanting to experiment with who it is that you are. Always aesthetic and beautiful, because I'm talking to my Libras. Okay, that's a forever thing. But like with Uranus energy, maybe I want to shake up my style. Maybe I want to dress more daring, and I don't need to have anyone's voice around their disapproval of it or what they think about it echoing in my head, because it's my life and I'm taking full ownership of it. And not all of you need to be like departing from a relationship in order to have this recognition. You could just find that you're in this season of life where it's like, I want to do what feels right. I want to go in new directions, and I don't particularly care what other people have to say about it. And I didn't know that being so clear and firm in my no's would lead to such amazing yeses. Like some of you could have certain experiences, retreats, classes, travels all together that really expand your mind, your worldview. You could start researching certain topics or enroll in some sort of program that really expands the mind, that gives you a new lease on life. Some of you could get more into astrology. You could get more into philosophy, to religion. There's just a desire where you want to learn and you want to feel connected to the world at large. I just feel like some of you are in the process of recognizing, the world is so much bigger than this relationship, than this partnership, or how this person made me feel. And going out and finding that, exploring that. Some of you could be saying yes to journeys and honoring. I don't know where exactly this is taking me, but I know it's a yes. Sometimes we don't know why we felt so inspired to take the class or go on the trip. And sometimes we don't need to know. What matters is that you showed up, and what matters is that you're trying new things. With Uranus in the 9th house, it's not to say that every single church that we go to or every single trip that we book is going to be the most life-changing, amazing thing ever. But with Uranus energy, it certainly isn't boring. It's definitely interesting. And there could be a story to tell because of it. Some of you could write or publish a book. Again, this is a transit that goes until 2033. So it's not going to be alive for all of you this year, but you could be some sort of speaker. You could be showing up at conferences, you could be traveling for work, or sharing your perspective, or publishing can also be indicated here with Uranus within your 9th house. And the other reason I say this in terms of the plot twist is that Jupiter is towards the top of your chart as well. So you're really wanting to show up for this experience, and you're wanting to be around contacts and people who make the world feel bigger and not smaller. Some of you could have been ensnared in trauma bonds or really painful dynamics that siphoned a lot of your energy. And there's like a new lease on life where you're wanting to go out and explore into the world. Or it's an energy around recognizing just how much people pleasing or fawning has taken from you. And it's like now that you are a little bit in your DGAF era, where you're caring less around what people have to say about you, recognizing that people will not always see you as you are, they'll see you as they are, especially with Neptune in the 7th house. It's like, how much life have I been holding back on trying to be liked by everybody, or approved by everybody, or validated by everybody? Let me go out and validate myself by doing things that are on my bucket list. I just feel like some of you are just in this more adventurous, risk-taking season of life. And Jupiter will be in Cancer for the first part of the year. So the plot twist there is you may be surprised by some of the career opportunities that come your way, the positive press, the growth as it relates to your passion projects, your nonprofit work, something like this. You may be really encouraged by the growth that you see, as well as the impact that you're having. It does feel like something that you care about, or is intrinsically important to you. And even if that's not career, like really feeling like you are doing what it is that you came here to do, and looking for ways to consciously give back to others and be very aligned with your own ethics. Some of you, I do see you could enroll in some sort of program in order to further your career, or in order to like level up in terms of how it is that you reach people, how it is that you pour into your community, your network, your team. As I alluded to earlier, some of you could get a promotion, a new job. There's an opportune energy flowing into your year, to be specific, in the first part of the year until June 29th. And from that point, Jupiter will enter Leo, which is your 11th house, which is dream come true energy. And we need to be realistic. You know, a lot of you are having a Saturn transit this year. It's not always fun and pleasant when Saturn is in angular house. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But what I will say is I do see blessings for you. Like Jupiter in the 11th house is very favorable. It's very auspicious. 11th house has to deal with fortune, and Jupiter rejoices in the 11th house. It is a harmonious fit. And you may know, if you're a Libra rising and you're familiar with my cosmic corner of the internet, Libra risings are my favorite forecasts to give. Not because I play favorites, but because I'm a Virgo rising. So a lot of the transits that you experience, I can speak from the lens of having just experienced it. So it's fresh in my mind. And you know, of course, we can learn a lot from books, and, you know, Uranus and Gemini transiting your 9th house. A lot of you may be hitting the books this year, or learning something, getting some sort of certification, publishing, what have you. Books are important with that, but there is something very potent around being able to have a real life experience to a transit. I've read so many books on so many different transits, but it's much different when you go through it yourself. And so I feel like whenever I do your forecast, I'm really speaking from, hey, I know what these transits feel like, and you've got this, and I felt this, and my life is testament of this. It's an energy around getting something that you have wanted. And maybe it's taken a lot to build up to this point. You could have been chiseling and working on something you could find this year. It's like finally ease, finally growth. And I worked so hard to get to this particular point. And it's acknowledging the work that we do shows up in many different ways. It's not just our professional work. It's also the psychological work, the work that we've done on a relationship. Like I do feel like some of you are reaping the rewards for where it is that you've been doing the work in some sort of way, and getting what it is that you've wanted with Jupiter in the 11th house. A lot of you could be connecting with soul family. That really showed up for me, like friends coming in, very nourishing, deep bonds, people who make your heart happy, or wanting to be surrounded by people who feel not like-minded, but like-hearted, because from June 29th onward, Jupiter is in Leo, which governs the heart space. And so with Jupiter in Leo, it's wanting to be around friends that are very heart-centered, and also acknowledging that there are shifts as it relates to friendships. That sometimes we have to have no's in terms of the friends that are not aligned for our journey in order to have yeses of people who are aligned for our journey forward. We'll talk about that when we talk about eclipses, but it's important to know that I do see gain and growth in terms of your visions and your dreams and friendships. But in order to have our yes, we have to have our no. And this year for you is really a balance, my scales, of the yeses and the nos. Act 3, character development. So Libra, let's talk about you. How are you growing and evolving within your journey this year? To tap into this, we look to your ruling planet, which for you, you're ruled by Venus. And Venus starts the year as a morning star and then is invisible. Doesn't mean that Venus leaves the solar system. It's just that we cannot see it from our vantage point here on planet Earth. And when we look at the dance of Venus, a lot of times the Venusians do feel the visibility, the rising as a morning star, evening star woven into their world. And so to simplify it, I will just highlight that at the beginning of the year, you may feel like you are drawing more energy inward. A lot of the transits you've been navigating have not been particularly easy. And there could be an energy starting this year where you are more inclined to hide away or to draw inwards within yourself. And it's trusting in that. You know, I feel like astrology really gives us such a permission slip to trust the rhythms and not judge ourselves or be harsh on ourselves, which is going to be really important with Saturn in your modality, not being too hard on yourself. And it's just like honoring if you do feel inclined towards the beginning of the year where you're wanting to rest and conserve your energy, you're not feeling as inspired, trusting in that. And then Venus is reborn as a morning star as we get into spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. Around springtime, like February, March-ish, Venus will rise as an evening star, which evening star is very much associated with connection. You know, when Venus is a morning star, it's very much around being very fiery and being very impulsive, going after what and who we love. And then as an evening star, we're wanting balance, we're wanting harmony. You know, I'm talking to my Libras after all. And so you can find this year that there is a desire where you're wanting to really prioritize connection or getting along in any sort of connection. And it's knowing that sometimes the hard stuff, the hard things that we go through within our relationships can actually strengthen connection. You know, you are a Libra, so there's a desire to want to keep the peace and not have any sort of conflict, but it's knowing that every connection will have conflict, and conflict doesn't need to be the enemy. Like, it could be something that helps us grow forward. In fact, it can be more nefarious and more poisonous for a connection, the things that we don't say, the resentment that we hold on to, the passive aggressiveness, or avoiding the person rather than saying, hey, I didn't like how you did A, B, and C. That is more poisonous to a connection rather than saying, I didn't like that you did A, B, and C. Skirting around it, running around it, snapping at the person, not being direct. Like, conflict does not need to be a negative thing. And it's very important to stand up for yourself. And I think a lot of you are standing up for yourself, but with your ruling planet being an evening star for most of the year, we'll get into the Venus retrograde at the end of the year, there could just be an emphasis around, I want to get along. And I also want to be respected. And there's space for both of that to coexist. And in fact, I love you so much. That's why I'm bringing it to you. Have you ever noticed that we feel more comfortable fighting with people who we trust love us? Like, sometimes we can feel like it's not safe to bring up grievances or something that was disrespectful to someone that we care about because there could be like a fear around, what if they leave me? What if they decide I'm too difficult and they drop me as a friend or they drop me as a client or what have you? But if there's connections where it's like, I trust that they'll stay, they'll be here for me, we feel more comfortable airing out certain things. And it's knowing that genuinely, even if it triggers, you know, your pain body around, don't abandon me, don't leave me. You genuinely do not want to be in any sort of relationship that requires you to abandon yourself in order to keep it. Evening star is also very associated with artistry and beauty and pleasure. And I just feel like even with Neptune in your opposing sign, a lot of you might be more inspired. You know, sometimes we go through hard things or even heartache with Chiron in the 7th house, and it doesn't make that experience okay. But what is bad for the heart sometimes is good for the art. And so there can be an energy of that around wanting to turn your pain into something beautiful, or there just could be a desire around really wanting to romanticize your life or make your life a work of art. Something like this can also be alive within your year. We do have a Venus retrograde that I want to put on your horizon now. Of course, the Magic 2026 gives you a month-by-month guide on all of the energies in the year ahead, but I want to bookmark Venus retrograde for you specifically. This lands in October and early November, and Venus retrograde will start in Scorpio and then go back into Libra. And the retrograde is also part of Venus's essentially journey as the morning and evening star. They're all connected. And if you've been sky watching for some time, this may sound somewhat familiar. You may be like, Haley, comment, didn't we have a Venus retrograde in Scorpio and Libra back in 2018? Absolutely, we did. And so in big ways or small ways, contemplating what was alive in your journey in fall 2018 may come back around this time. And again, we talked about this with Chiron energies. Sometimes we have like new events in our life that trigger familiar patterns. So even recognizing, even if it's different people, different situations, different scenarios, contemplating what's the loop, what's the pattern here? Is there anything similar to what I navigated in fall 2018 and what's coming up in fall 2026? But what I want to highlight is that Venus starts its retrograde journey in Scorpio, which is the sign of your planet's detriment. It's not very comfortable here. It's intense, it's deep, it's transformative. And with Venus retrograde, this will impact in actual houses or solar houses, your second house. So some of you could finally get a paycheck that you were owed a while ago, like it got lost in the mail, or you can get a bill around this time of something that you thought you paid. Like sometimes financial matters that are incomplete come back around during this time, or you might even go back to a past income stream that you used to have. You can even just be contemplating, what is it that I value out of this experience? I do feel like some of you are doing some soul searching this year, which we will get to, but with Venus retrograde, you could be really contemplating, how do I make money? What am I spending money on? What are my values? And really contemplating that, where transformation or evolution may be needed here. And then Venus will retrograde back into Libra. And I just want to highlight that if you have any Libra placements between 22 to 29, this is more impactful for you personally, like Venus will align with those Libra placements. But even if it doesn't, it will be in your first house, which is an angular house around self. So it's really contemplating, who am I? Yes, there's a lot of the cosmos in your seventh house, which is around relationships. But even with those placements in the seventh house being in Aries, who am I within these relationships? And it's recognizing the value that you have and that nobody outside of you has the power to define who it is that you are. Absolutely. People can activate us and inspire us and be mirrors for us and be catalysts for our growth. But it's knowing that no one defines you. You define you. And with Venus retrograde, it could just really be contemplating how it is that you see yourself. You could be really reworking your aesthetic, reworking your style, or contemplating what in your life feels unfinished. Saturn in your seventh house this year. Saturn is a planet that is associated with karma. And sometimes with Saturn in the seventh house, if there's outstanding karma that we have with individuals, sometimes those situations come back up for review, whether it's with this person or with someone who reminds us of that person. Sometimes that is a dynamic, but with Venus retrograde, there can be an opportunity to have these situations in the past flare up, to put them to bed at last, and to really contemplate what these arenas of life reveal to you about you with Venus retrograde within your first house. Act 4, supporting characters. I want to highlight some of the other transits that are alive and felt within your yearly horoscope. Firstly, we talked about Chiron leaving Aries midway this year, but I also want to illuminate the territory that it is dabbling into, because this is a territory of your chart that also Uranus spends some time within. So essentially in the first part of the year, from January to April, Uranus is finishing out its journey in Taurus, which has been alive in your world since 2018. Interestingly, the same amount of time that Chiron has been in Aries. And we have that Venus retrograde very similar to what transpired in 2018. So a lot of 2018 energy. Let me know if that was a significant year for you at all. But nevertheless, Uranus has been in Taurus since there, and it's been in your 8th house. So your partner's income could have gone through some ups and downs. Your investments could have gone through some ups and downs. There could have been shocking moments of grief, of loss, of transformation, transition. And that journey concludes this year as Uranus moves into your 9th house, which is more favorable for you. And then Chiron dabbles in the sector June through September. There could be arguments about money with your spouse that is not just around money. Like there's just an energy with Chiron where unknown pain points could be alive within the discussions or within the arguments or what have you. There could be certain painful habits that your spouse has around money that hurts you, that cuts you deeply, hiding certain accounts, spending money on things that you don't value, or living or not making their support for you available in some sort of way. You could feel deprived as it relates to alimony, as it relates to child support, not feeling like you have enough, or even struggling around feeling worthy around receiving from others, even outside of financially, just receiving in general. Am I worthy of this? Chiron energy can cut deeply in that way. I also want to walk you through the story of the eclipses this year. So we have 2 eclipses in Virgo and Pisces and 2 eclipses in Leo and Aquarius. The Pisces-Virgo eclipses are closing out a story that began in September 2024, and the Leo-Aquarius eclipses are signaling where our work is going to be moving forward through 2027. Paying attention to the Aquarius solar eclipse in February, this is going to hint the changes, the transformation that we are being launched towards, as it is a new moon on the North Node. So it's a new beginning that pushes us forward, not just for ourselves, but for humanity with the energy of Aquarius. You could have a certain passion project, a creative interest or hobby that you feel like helps people. I genuinely feel that. Multiple transits make me feel that, where your art could make people feel less alone, or your art could have some sort of political messaging as an example, or you could be bringing community to people who really need community, like really craving gathering. And you may need to step up as a leader in order to facilitate or create the environments where people can connect. Connection can be very healing, and there may be a need for you to really step into leadership, like building it and they will come, or something like this, especially if you feel like it creates change in some way. And with North Node in Aquarius in the 5th house, you could be moving into some sort of new era as it relates to your children. You could be conceiving, or you could be watching as your kids evolve and leave the nest and feeling how that changes your hopes and dreams for your life altogether. And there's an interesting story this year between Jupiter and the South Node, because Jupiter is around growth and gain. And like I said, with Jupiter in the 11th house, you could be making more friends. You could be dreaming bigger, doing things bigger, stepping into bigger leadership roles, something like this, using your creative gifts in order to make some sort of difference. 11th house is also connected to humanitarian efforts. But South Node is also there. And whereas Jupiter is around growth and gain, South Node is around release. So some of you are letting go of old visions that you had and embracing new ones. And so if any of you are like empty nesters or something like this, it's like, my life was taking care of these humans and they still need me. They still love me. I still love them. But my visions for my life are changing because they have to. I need to find different hobbies, with North Node 5th house. I need to support their own becoming, because Pluto is in the 5th house as well. So you could be watching as your children are evolving and stepping into new sides of yourself and wanting to cheerlead them in doing so, but also recognizing that there needs to be a bit of detachment. And maybe that's why your friendship groups are going through some changes, is maybe you're branching out more. You're saying yes to things. You actually have space in your life to travel. You're not spending as much time with your fellow mom friends. You're doing more things that put yourself out there. There could be a storyline like this. For others of you, it could just represent as your ambitions grow, as your dreams grow, you recognize that certain friendships you can't take with you. And there could just be a dance of certain relationships being removed, especially with the Leo solar eclipse in August. that are not aligned for your pathway forward, but it's trusting anything that is removed is leading to more growth and gain, with Jupiter already there as well. So there's an interesting dance there. You also could be letting go of what you thought your life was going to be in order to embrace what it is. You could be gathering people together for the purpose of creating art. You could be stepping into your ability to make a difference, I see, is for some of you. And a story that we are closing out is the Pisces Virgo eclipses, which the Virgo lunar eclipse in March 2026 will land within your 12th house. So this is a nudge around releasing bad habits, releasing self-sabotaging, and recognizing how perfectionism is oftentimes a way that we self-sabotage, or we stay hidden around, I'll debut it when it's perfect. And sometimes you just gotta show up messily. The Aries energy is really encouraging us to do just that this year. And the Pisces lunar eclipse in August illuminates your 6th house, which is around your day-to-day routine, which, as I highlighted, Saturn and Neptune started the year here. So there has been a lot of energy around what is my ideal day-to-day, and showing up for your visions and seeing how your visions require daily effort, and getting to the bottom of any health issue that felt foggy or confusing, or even if there were certain elements of things that you did not get answers for. With Saturn, it's having discipline in order to treat yourself well, recognizing we may be spiritual, soulful people with this eclipse in Pisces, those transits wrapping up in Pisces, but our soul is within our body. So we need to take care of our body in order to do our soul's work. So Libra, final scene. As you close out 2026, you are going to be so proud of yourself. And it's important to stay focused on that, because it could be hard to enforce boundaries. It could be hard to be the bad guy, to have the uncomfortable conversations. It could be hard to go based on reality and not potential. It could be hard to let our clients down, let our business partner down. But you are making it a priority to not let yourself down and to not abandon yourself within your own life. You are the main character of your life. And I feel like for some of you, you could have felt like a passenger in your own life. And I do feel like you're taking the reins. And sometimes it is uncomfortable to take the reins of our life. But future you is so proud of you and the work that you are doing, and the path that you are chiseling, and the boundaries that you are setting, and the hardships that you are navigating. You know, with Chiron energy, Saturn energy, you have gone through a lot. And it's knowing that sometimes we meet a side of ourselves on the other side of the heartache or the hardship where we are bruised, sure, but broken, no. You are going to surprise yourself with just how strong you are, just how capable you are. And I don't mean for this to sound doom and gloom. Like, genuinely, Libra, I see career success. I see putting yourself out there. I see being part of groups or around people that feel like-hearted. People who make you happy, people who are inspired by the same things that you are, creative groups. I see you prioritizing the things that are on your bucket list, or at least just doing more of the things that set your soul on fire, going to live music, booking in for that trip, finally writing that book, being urgent about your own life because you recognize it's yours. And you can't take all of the glory of this experience of life without also dealing with sometimes the missteps, the hardships. But it's really taking the driver's seat of your experience because it's your own. So Libra, I would love to know below, what are you looking forward to within this next year? What are you not looking forward to as much? I want to remind you that Magic 2026 is available below. It is a PDF with an accompanied video with timestamps where I walk you through every single month of the year, the opportunities of each month, the challenges of each month, affirmations that I wrote designed for what your sign is navigating in that month. You can check that out below. We also have a Capricorn new moon class if you're craving community at the beginning of the year to set intentions that actually stick because you are working with the astrology rather than fighting against it. Make sure to check that out. If you like the vibes here in my cosmic corner of the internet, thank you so much for stopping by. I would so appreciate any little bit of engagement that you feel called to give, if you feel that I earned it. And if you doubly like the vibes, I have a weekly horoscope podcast called Magic Monday where I talk about the astrology of the week and how it is that you can co-create with it in order to live your most magical and your most aligned life. I'm here every single single Sunday in my cosmic corner of the internet. My Instagram handle is at Haley Common Astrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect over there if you feel so inspired. But until we meet again, Libra, stay magical.